Franklin Grove, Illinois, a town where nothing much ever happens, or at least, that's what people thought. But in the fall of 2015, everything changed. At the heart of it all was 16-year-old Danny Caldwell, a boy whose quiet life spiraled into darkness and tragedy in the span of just a few weeks. Danny was the kind of kid who blended into the background. After his parents' bitter divorce, he became even more invisible. His father had walked out 3 years ago, and his mother, juggling 2 jobs, was never around. Danny wandered the halls of Franklin Grove High like a ghost always present, but never seen. But there were those who did see him: Jake Connors and his group of friends, a pack of wolves waiting for someone weak to prey on. For Jake, Danny was the perfect target. The morning of October 5th, Danny walked through the crowded hallway, his eyes downcast, his hands clutching his worn backpack. The cold, pale light from the overhead fluorescent bulbs seemed harsher that day, and the sounds of students laughing and chatting felt distant, almost mocking. He was making his way toward his locker when he felt a hard shove from behind. He stumbled, slamming into the metal locker, the edge digging into his ribs. Before he could react, a mocking voice rang out. "Caldwell, you're looking lonely. Miss me?" Jake Connors, tall, broad-shouldered, and always flanked by 2 or 3 of his closest friends. Jake was the kind of kid who ruled Franklin Grove High through intimidation. His voice was dripping with amusement, like he had just found a new toy to break. Before Danny could respond, Jake was right in front of him, blocking his path. "You've been quiet lately. What's the matter? You got no friends left?" His grin widened as his friends laughed behind him, their snickering echoing down the hall. Jake wasn't asking because he cared. He was pushing Danny, forcing him to engage, to squirm. It was a game, and Danny knew that no answer would satisfy them. So, he stayed silent. Big mistake. Jake's grin faded. His eyes narrowed, and he stepped closer, grabbing the strap of Danny's backpack. "What? Too good to talk to us now?" He yanked hard, pulling Danny forward, his body slamming into Jake's chest. The hallway seemed to close in, the other students moving past as if nothing was happening. This was just another day at Franklin Grove High. The air felt colder as Jake reached into his own pocket and pulled out a crumpled piece of paper, a letter. Not just any letter, it was something Jake had written for Danny, a fake love note filled with humiliating confessions about his crush on Jess Grant. Jake shoved the letter into Danny's hands, his voice low and venomous. "You're gonna slip this into Jess's locker. Or, we could always read it out loud during lunch. Your choice." Danny's heart raced as he stared at the letter. His palms were damp, his stomach twisted in knots. He could feel the weight of the situation closing in on him. If he didn't do this, the humiliation would be even worse. With trembling hands, Danny slipped the letter into Jess's locker, barely able to breathe. His vision blurred with anxiety as the world around him felt like it was spinning. Jake and his friends watched from a distance, waiting for the fallout. But before Danny could slip away, Jess arrived. She opened her locker, oblivious to the note inside. It took her only a few seconds to notice the crumpled paper. She unfolded it, her expression twisting from curiosity to anger as she scanned the words. She glanced at Danny, her eyes hardening into something cold, almost predatory. "Seriously, you think this would work? You think I'd ever be with you?" Jess's voice dripped with contempt. The laughter from her friends echoed in the hallway, a chorus of cruel mockery. Danny stood frozen, his face burning with shame. He wanted to disappear, to run and never come back. But Jake wasn't finished. The humiliation wasn't enough. He grabbed Danny by the shirt, yanking him backward, and dragged him through the hall toward the principal's office. "Come on, Caldwell," Jake sneered. "Let's see what Harris has to say about love letters." The world became a blur as Danny was pulled down the hallway. His mind raced, his stomach churning with dread. He knew what was coming: the mockery, the punishment. Principal Harris would read the letter, and it would be over. Everyone would know. Inside the office, the ticking of the clock was deafening. The room smelled faintly of disinfectant and old paper, but it was the tension in the air that suffocated Danny. He sat stiffly in the chair, staring at the floor, while Jake stood by the door, a smug grin plastered on his face. Jess leaned against the wall, arms crossed, her eyes flicking between Danny and the desk, where the letter lay. Then, out of nowhere, Danny's phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out, confused. He wasn't expecting a message. His hand shook as he read the notification on his screen, a notification from an app he didn't remember downloading. His heart raced as he opened the app. The message was simple, yet it felt like a command. Eat the letter. Your reward. No detention. Eat the letter. His mind raced. That was ridiculous, insane. But the thought of avoiding Principal Harris's wrath, of not letting Jake's plan unfold, it was intoxicating. Desperate. Trust us. His hand shook as he grabbed the crumpled letter from the desk. He glanced nervously toward the door, where the principal was still absent, and then at Jess, who was ignoring him completely. Without thinking, Danny tore off a piece of the letter and shoved it into his mouth. The taste of paper was bitter and dry, but he chewed through it, swallowing the evidence. Piece by piece, the humiliating words disappeared, consumed by desperation. Just as he swallowed the last fragment, the door creaked open and Principal Harris walked in. Principal Harris looked at the group, confused by the tense atmosphere in the room. But there was no letter, no evidence. Jess didn't say a word. After a long, uncomfortable silence, Harris waved them off, telling them to get back to class. Danny had escaped detention, but Jake wasn't about to let him leave unscathed. Later that afternoon, Jake and his crew found Danny in the parking lot. They circled him like predators, waiting for the right moment to pounce. "You think you're smart, don't you, Caldwell?" Jake's voice was filled with venom. "You think you can outsmart me?" Without waiting for an answer, Jake's fist slammed into Danny's stomach, knocking the wind out of him. Danny doubled over in pain, gasping for breath. Before he could recover, Jake's friends joined in punches and kicks landing from every direction. Danny's vision blurred, and the world spun around him. When a teacher later noticed his bruises and torn shirt, she approached him cautiously, her eyes filled with concern. "Danny, are you all right? You look hurt," she asked, gently reaching for his shoulder. Danny flinched away, forcing a weak smile. "I'm fine," he mumbled. The words tasted hollow. He couldn't let anyone know what was really happening, not about the beatings, and especially not about the app. The teacher hesitated, her eyes lingering on his bruised arms, but when Danny didn't elaborate, she nodded, reluctantly walking away. He was used to it by now, people asking, but never really pushing. His injuries remained a secret. The Blue Serpent app wasn't like anything Danny had ever seen before. At first, he tried to research it, look it up online, ask around, but there was nothing. No forums, no information, nothing to explain what it really was. But every day, the app's presence grew stronger. Every task it assigned felt more like a command, a voice whispering in the back of his mind. But what Danny didn't know was that the app had been placed on his phone deliberately. A boy from his class, Tom, had been forced to install the app on Danny's phone as part of his own twisted quest. Tom had once been a quiet kid too until the app found him. Now he was just another pawn in the game, doing whatever it took to avoid the app's punishments. The task started out small for Danny. Break something valuable, lie to his friends, steal money from his mom. And each time, the app rewarded him small victories, like avoiding trouble or gaining a fleeting sense of control over his life. But with each completed task, the app tightened its grip, pushing him further, deeper into a spiral he couldn't escape. One evening, as Danny lay in bed, his phone buzzed again. The screen lit up, casting an eerie glow across the room. Leak Jess's photos. She deserves it. Your reward. Power over those who hurt you. Danny's heart raced. Leaker photos. His stomach churned. Jess had humiliated him, laughed at him in front of everyone. But this was something darker. He hesitated, his finger hovering over the screen, unsure of what to do. Then the app buzzed again, more insistent this time. Do it. Power is yours. She humiliated you, now it's her turn. With a few taps, Danny uploaded the private photos Jess had sent him months ago in what she thought was a secret conversation. The next morning, her photos spread through the school like wildfire. Jess's reputation was ruined overnight. She became the target of the same cruelty she had inflicted on others. But even as Danny felt a fleeting sense of satisfaction, the app wasn't done with him. He had crossed a line, and now there was no turning back. October 12, 2015. A date that would forever be etched into the memories of everyone in Franklin Grove. Late that night, Danny's phone buzzed again, the sound that had come to haunt him, control him. Get a gun. Take control. Your reward. True freedom. His hands shook as he read the message. The app had guided him so far step by step, drawing him deeper into its world of control. Now, it was leading him toward the final act. The gun was easy to get. The app showed him how to navigate the dark web, where to purchase it. A few days later, the package arrived at his house, plain and unmarked. The weight of the gun felt heavy, cold, and final in his hands. He didn't hesitate. He couldn't anymore. The app had already hollowed out the person he once was, leaving only the promise of freedom if he followed through. It was time to make them pay. The morning of October 12th was eerily quiet. A storm brewed in the distance, but inside Franklin Grove High, it was just another day. Students chatted in the hallways, teachers prepared their lessons, and no one had any idea that Danny Caldwell was walking through those same halls with a gun tucked into his jacket. His footsteps echoed in his ears, louder than they should have been. His mind was blank, numb, as if the world around him didn't quite exist anymore. He wasn't walking toward his fate, he was being dragged there by the app, the invisible force pulling his strings. He found Jake standing by his locker, laughing with his friends, completely unaware of what was about to happen. Danny's hands shook as he reached inside his jacket, gripping the cold metal of the gun. His phone buzzed one last time in his pocket. Make them remember. The gun felt impossibly heavy as Danny raised it, aiming at Jake, but his hands wouldn't stop shaking. His vision blurred, his body weak from exhaustion, and the damage the app had done to him physically, mentally, emotionally. He squeezed the trigger. The shot went wide. It struck a teacher who had just stepped into the hallway, sending the school into chaos. Screams erupted as students ran in every direction, their footsteps a frantic stampede toward the exits. Jess, standing not far from Jake, froze in terror as she realized what was happening. Her eyes locked with Danny's for a moment, wide with shock. Before Danny could fire again, another shot rang out. This time, it wasn't from his gun. The bullet tore through Danny's arm, knocking him to the ground. His vision swam as pain seared through his body, and the gun slipped from his grip, clattering to the floor. The world around him became a distant blur of screaming, crying, and sirens. His mind felt disconnected from his body, floating somewhere far away. As Danny lay on the cold tile, bleeding, his phone buzzed one last time. Weakly, he reached into his pocket, pulling it out with trembling fingers. The screen flickered, the app's interface glitching. A final message appeared. You failed. This is the end. And just like that, the Blue Serpent app began deleting itself. File by file, it disappeared, leaving no trace behind. By the time the authorities arrived and recovered Danny's phone as evidence, the app was gone, erased as if it had never existed. No one would ever know the full extent of its control over him. Franklin Grove High was never the same after that day. The small, quiet town had become the site of a tragedy that left one teacher dead and Danny Caldwell fighting for his life in a hospital bed. The shockwaves of the event spread through the community like a storm, leaving everyone searching for answers. As investigators pieced together the events that led to the shooting, a darker truth began to emerge. Tom, the boy who had installed the Blue Serpent app on Danny's phone, was questioned. He had been another victim of the app's twisted game, forced to carry out tasks in exchange for his own survival. His final task had been to plant the app on Danny's phone, making him the next pawn. But the app wasn't done. Days after the shooting, Jess Grant sat alone in her room, scrolling mindlessly through her phone, trying to block out the world. Her reputation had been destroyed, her life shattered by the photos Danny had leaked. But the nightmare wasn't over. Her phone buzzed, and her heart stopped as she saw the notification. The same app that had driven Danny to the brink now had its sights set on her. A message appeared on the screen, cold and calculating. He was going to leak more. You want control now, don't you? Join us. Jess's fingers trembled as she stared at the screen. The pull of the app was powerful, its promises enticing. Control, power, revenge. And just like that, the cycle was ready to begin again.